Jason Whitlock. I said that name. It's not a name I've uttered. I normally don't do that, but it's necessary to do now. I've had enough of that fat bastard. That piece of shit. And I want to make sure that before I go to break, I want anyone out there who watches me, anyone out there who knows me, anyone out there, no matter what you think of me, I want you to remember, I never talk about him. I never talk about my colleagues. I don't do that. This is a first. But it's necessary. And when I say don't talk about them, I don't mean don't talk about them literally. I don't get in on them like I'm about to do now.
Rowdy Nation TV, welcome back to the channel. Do me a favor. Click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit the notification bell so anytime I drop a video, you guys can be notified. Hey, man, I'm just going to come off the rip and just tell you guys, I am not a pro Stephen A. Smith fan, and I don't rock with Jason Whitlock. And basically, while I'm making this video, is because Stephen A. Smith has confirmed everything I ever thought about Jason Whitlock in this video. Everything that, and you know, I don't know the brother, you know what I'm saying? But everything that I ever thought or felt about Jason Whitlock, when I listened to Stephen A. and the way that he talked about Jason Whitlock, I'm not saying it's true. I'm not saying it's false, but he named a lot of names in this video. I think it just confirmed for me everything that I ever felt about Jason Whitlock. Let's get back into it, into the video, into the video, and let's just listen to Stephen A. and let him tell it.
I literally called my pastor and asked for his forgiveness and understanding in advance because he's not going to recognize the person he's about to hear. I did the same when I emailed the bosses at ESPN. This is my podcast. I own and operate this. I do what I want on this podcast. But it doesn't mean that I still don't harbor a responsibility to at least give my daytime employers a heads up as to what I'm about to do. My sisters, my nieces and nephews, my boys in the industry, everybody that I could reach out to in time has been warned. It's time for me to address this. I'm only going to do it once. Because this bastard is worth less than a damn cockroach. He wanted my attention. He's got it. The Stephen A. Smith Show. Up next. Don't touch that dial. We'll deal with the fat bastard himself right now. Let's roll.
Hold up. I don't want people to get it misconstrued when I say I'm not pro Stephen A. I mean, I listen to Stephen A. I like his show. I like him and Shannon. I like Stephen A. I just know that a lot of people don't like Stephen A., but I don't judge him on other people's merits. I just know he says some things about people in sports, and if you're a fan of that person that's in that he's talking about, so apparently, you know, you're a fan of that sports player, you're not going to like Stephen A. if he's saying something negative about him. So I understand that, right? But this is totally different, right? This is beyond two sports anchors criticizing sports players. This goes beyond that, right? And I think he's going to break it down coming up here, right? So I'm not going to talk too much. I just want Stephen A. to break it down for all of us to see why Jason Whitlock is the way that he is.
Here's the other. That's not real work. Think about this for a second. I'm supposed to be covering sports, but I make a career out of talking about my colleagues. That ain't work. That's you finding some slick way to get a check because you can't get a job. That's Jason Whitlock. That's who the hell he is. Now, I have sat back for years, at least 9 to 10 years, saying absolutely nothing about this man. I never uttered the
Man, I
word
guess we
fat
all can
bastard
really
out of my
understand
mouth
that.
until a
Have
few
you ever
months
been
ago.
in a situation where you just let some stuff slide for a hot second and it was really bothering you and you really didn't want to respond to it because you felt that you were on a different level? You may even be trying to change your life or whatever, you know, not be the old you, not be that 1986 brother that you was, you know what I'm saying? Because I know that 1986 was a crazy year for me. But I'm just saying, yo, man, he's trying to take Stephen A out of his character. And Stephen A knows exactly what he's doing. But sometimes you just have to address things, right? You just have to address things to let people know where you stand and what kind of relationship you have to do with this other person who's out here saying these negative things about you, right? So let's just get back into it. And I think we're about to find out why Stephen A. Smith is really upset with Jason Whitlock.
How are you the face of journalism when you don't care about the truth? It's got to be an install. It's got to be a plan. And so that's why when I'm reading his book, I'm just looking at things and I'm just laughing. Like, he really told this story? And we're really supposed to believe it? And I did suggest, I was like, did he have ghostwriters? Who wrote this book? Because it's hard for me to believe that a sports writer, anybody familiar with the sports world, would unpack these stories the way Stephen A. Smith unpacks these stories in his book. It reads like it's someone who has zero connection to the sports world.
But now it's necessary. Excuse me. Because you see, if you listen to the fat bastard, I didn't play high school ball, even though my coach's name was Harvey Stoller. It was Thomas A. Edison Vocational and Technical High School. I played there my senior year. I was in a basketball tournament at Fashion Institute of Technology where I dropped 27 points and got a scholarship because the coach came calling me after that and what have you.
Okay, what do you guys think about what Jason Whitlock had to say about Stephen A. Smith? I'm not on here trying to protect Stephen A. Smith. He's a grown man. I'm pretty sure he can do that for himself. I don't agree with a lot of some of the things that Stephen A. Smith says, but on this one right here, I'm riding with Stephen A. There's something about Jason Whitlock that just when you get around him, it's just like, it just makes your skin crawl. It just when I hear this dude talk and just like Stephen A. Smith said, you know, he's a very intelligent person, but he made his mistake is when he started showing his face. And people associated the shit that came out of his mouth with the face of the person. It just didn't correlate. It just didn't match up. You know what I'm saying? It just seemed like a hater was talking. Look at this brother, man. He does not seem like he's a happy individual. Look at his eyes. He looks like he's been up crying all night. Trolling Stephen A. Smith. That's what it seems like to me. And honestly, I know he feels some type of way. If he was working at ESPN before Stephen Smith was, and now Stephen Smith has surpassed him on a higher level, and he doesn't even work there no more. Of course, he's gonna feel some type of way. Stephen A. Smith is on TV every day. So let's get back into it because Stephen A. Smith is not done. He's about to really tell you how he feel about Jason Whitlock.
If you listen to him, I never had a scholarship to Winston-Salem State, even though it's on the books. Just call the university. By the way, ladies and gentlemen, I'm an honorary doctorate member. I have an honorary doctorate from Winston-Salem State University because of my contributions to Winston-Salem State. I'm called Dr. Smith. Has something to also do with the contributions that I make because I believe about upliftment. I'm an ambassador for HBCU Week, and I've partnered with Ashley Christopher and Mir Persicki in Delaware and others to generate over 10,000 scholarships in excess of over $65 million in scholarships for African Americans. But this man will tell you I'm lying. He even went so far as to say my autobiography, where I talk about my mother my father, my sisters, the business, my hiring and firing and rehiring at ESPN. I didn't write it. I didn't write my own memoir, which, by the way, is a New York Times bestseller, something he wouldn't know anything about. Did you know that it's now on paperback? It just came out yesterday on paperback. Do you know that you could go to Amazon.com, StraightShooterBook.com, or a bookstore nearest you to get my book in paperback? Do you know that when people are normally selling 10,000, 20,000, 30,000 copies, I've sold over 400,000? Did you know, did you know, did you know? But he will tell you, I didn't write it. He's seen my writing. Really? This article is an article written on Deadspin.com. The title, How Jason Whitlock is Poisoning ESPN's Black Grant Land. Because remember, Bill Simmons, who's now at Spotify doing a great job, obviously had Grantland at ESPN, and upon his departure, Jason Whitlock was supposed to take up the mantle and create a black website for folks. This article was written by a Greg Howard, published on April 27th, 2015. The same Jason Whitlock that said he's seen my writing, the same Jason Whitlock that implied that I couldn't write, the same Jason Whitlock that said that I'm lying. What does this man do? Why would I call up this article? There's a plethora of reasons why I would do so, ladies and gentlemen. One of the reasons would be because it's as in-depth as it gets about how scurrilous, how trifling, how despicable this man is. But there's also another reason that I'd pick up this article. Let me read the graph to you that it says. Keep in mind, Stephen A. can't write. This staff, the one Whitlock was praising by way of warnings that if the writers and editors wouldn't align with his vision, he would get rid of them, was not the one Whitlock wanted. The Undefeated, because that was the name of the title before it ultimately became Andscape. The Undefeated was originally meant to attract the best and brightest young black talent in the country, with Whitlock's aim set so high that he at one point seriously tried to recruit the Atlantic's Ta-Nehisi Coates, the sharpest cultural commentator in the business today. As things worked out, though, those young writers comprehensively refused to work with him. So did big-name ESPNers like Howard Bryant, Jamel Hill, and Stephen A. Smith. I couldn't write, huh? While you were on Blaze TV, spewing that bullshit to people. Did you tell them that? Did you tell them how you stood outside of First Take begging me to talk to you? Did you tell them that once this same article in Deadspin came out, weeks later you wrote a lengthy apology to me in an email, begging me to forgive you, pointing out how you were betrayed by this particular writer, so you know how I must feel that you betrayed me? Did you tell the folks that, you bitch? Did you tell them? You fat piece of shit. Did you tell them that? Got the names. We got Jamel Hill. We got Howard Bryant. You want me to bring up the other writers that wouldn't work for you? Why it took you nearly 2 years to get an article out? Because you ran that shit so bad you were running it into the ground? What a disgrace you were to John Skipper, the former boss of ESPN, or the host of others. You want me to talk about that? Because I got receipts. I got the email. Want me to talk about that? Now, just for everybody that wants to understand, how could this possibly be? Because once upon a time, I actually tried to speak up for this damn cretin. I knew he was a piece of shit. But I said, look, maybe he's misunderstood. Why would I do that, ladies and gentlemen? Because sometimes as black folks, we get in our own way. We think that all of us must be of one monolithic thinking, that we need to be completely and totally aligned. And any deviation from that brings into question our quote-unquote blackness.
How do you guys feel about what Stephen A. Smith just said? As black people, we all, if we're not staying aligned with each other, that if we deviate from that alignment, that we're not, that our blackness is in question. Well, what about, as I'm not sure about you guys, but at my job, you know, I like to do a good job at my job, right? And I have I'm a supervisor. So the people that's under me, I'm only as strong as my weakest link, right? So the weakest person on my team, that's how strong I am, right? So do I have to settle for, you know, I think we always have to go, we have to do better is what I'm trying to say. As black people, we always have to do better. We always have to be that shining light, that shining example, because no matter what we do, we're not going to get credit for it, right? We always have to be better. We always have to be like number one on our job. You know what I'm saying? It's always like we have to prove something, that somebody's always watching us, right? And when we do better, there's nobody that's going to really compliment you about your growth and about how good you are, because they don't want to tell you that, right? They don't want to tell you how good you are. That's just, you know, how some companies operate. And I'm not just saying it's just for black folks. I think it's just for people, period. You know what I mean? They don't want to pay you what you're worth. And I think that just goes across the whole board. Even though we can get into the semantics about it, about how other people get paid more than black people. But I'm just saying that's just the way of the world now. Companies don't want to pay people what they're worth. And I think that doesn't, you know, I think that equates to black, white, red, or brown. That's just the way the country is being run right now. But what do you think? What I'm trying to say is, what do you think about, I think what I'm really trying to say, I can't cover for a black person if he's not doing his job, right? I don't want somebody on my team, I don't care what color they are, if they're not doing their job. And just because you black, I'm not going to cover for you. I think that's I think to me that's nah, man, I just can't agree with that. Covering for somebody who's not really doing their job. You know what I'm saying? You got to be able to do your job. You got to be able to work hard. You know what I'm saying? That's one thing I like to tell the people I work with. You know, if there's one thing that I can stand on, is at my work. You know, I let my work speak for itself, right? So with Jason Whitlock, let me get back to Jason Whitlock. I just think this guy, every brother is not your brother. This is what I'm really trying to say, man. And this brother right here is very bitter. And he always start talking about, when he gets into his conversations about black men being feminine. Why does he always bring that up? He brings femininity in, like the black man is now acting like they're just too feminine. Let me tell you something, brother. And I just really want to come on here and just report what's going on, but I have to give my opinion sometimes. There's nothing about Jason Whitlock that seems masculine to me. You know what I mean? And he's always talking about somebody's going to be crying. Oh, these people are going to be crying because, you know, black people can't think for themselves. No, that is not the case. I get up, I go to work every day. I have kids who's graduated college, and I don't have to put that stuff out there. But I'm just saying, we're all not the same. And I know black people like this, you know. Some of these educated blacks, they get up in these places, man, and they try to look down on the next brother. And that's the type of brother I think Jason Whitlock is. And me personally, I just don't like it. You know what I'm saying? I'm not the sharpest knife in the drawer, but I know I'm not the dullest either. But at the same token, this guy right here, I can see the hate. It's like a visceral hate, and you can feel it in his voice, you know, in his voice when he talks. I just had to give you a little bit of what he said, because I can't stomach a lot of the stuff that this guy says that comes out his mouth, because I see him for who he is. So, and like I said before, if there was anything about this about this video that Stephen A. Smith put out about Jason Whitlock. I think it confirms everything that I said I felt about
even though
Jason
their agendas
Whitlock. And I'm not a real big Stephen A. fan. So let's get back into it.
So I understand when we talk about stuff like this, how people can sit up there and say, how did it get to this? How did it get to this? Remember when I got suspended years ago? You know what's out there writing stuff, smiling in my face 1 minute, talking smack about me behind my back, and then ultimately writing it? It was him. Remember when I supposedly used people were speculating that he used the N-word on the air and all of this other stuff? He was the first one out there trying to say that I did it. Ladies and gentlemen, I didn't do it on the air, in my humble opinion. I'm telling you that. However, it's not like I didn't use the N-word when I was off the air, when I was talking to my fellas, or I was talking to other folks who happened to be black. I am not a proponent of using that word often, nor am I advocating that that word be used now. I'm just acknowledging the guilt that comes associated with me in terms of when I was younger. But I was always saying we as black people communicate how we want to communicate with each other. I love John Wooten, who's been associated with the Fritz Alliance, the Fritz Alliance, the Fritz Alliance, Fritz Pollard Alliance. Love that man. Love his contributions to the NFL. But when we would get into it in the past on rare occasions, it wasn't that he wanted the eradication of the N-word, because I support that. My issue with him was, hey, you shouldn't be encouraging the NFL to fine us and penalize us for using it amongst ourselves. How can a race of people who actually made the word iniquitous be in a position to punish us for using the word with one another? I had a problem with that, and I stand by that, but I digress. My point is, in bringing up all of that, Jason Whitlock pounced on it because that's what he does. You see, what he does is he's the one that puts himself in front of white folks. The white folks, not all white folks, not most white folks, but the white folks that dare we say may have a problem with black folks. He says, I'm your man. That's what he does. You think I'm lying? Ask ESPN. Ask Fox. Ask the Kansas City Star. Ask them all. Jamel Hill. Rob Parker. Chris Broussard. Skip Bayless. Yours truly. Along with a host of black folks all over this country. Every single one of them will confirm what the hell I'm saying about this piece of garbage.
Click that like button, share this video. Let's boost this video up. Let's get these people, let's let the people know about Jason Whitlock, man. Let's let the people know that we got us an informant amongst us, right? We got one. I'm telling you, this guy right here is not right. What do you guys think about what Stephen A. is saying about Jason Whitlock? He is dropping names. He got some receipts. Leave me a comment in my comment section, guys. Let me know what you think about this beef between Jason Whitlock and Stephen A. Smith. Like I said before, I'm really not a big Stephen A. Smith fan. I like watching his what is that show on ESPN? First Take. That's what it is. I like watching First Take. You know what I'm saying? I like him and Shannon. Shannon has his own show, of course. But I like watching those guys. I think that's a good fit. Shannon Sharp and Stephen A. Smith, when they're together on air, I like watching that combination. And I like Stephen A. Smith's his journalistic approach to sports. I mean, I know a lot of players don't like him, but I think what Stephen A. Smith, when he says something about a player, it's not personal. I don't get that from him. I don't get that. If he critiques a basketball player, football player, some kind of sports player, I think it's his job, first of all, and I don't think it's personal. Really, I don't. You know what I'm saying? My favorite quarterback for my team, I talk stuff about this brother all the time. I say he's not my quarterback, right? And I got people in my family that give me grief about, oh man, saying, Dad, man, you too tough on this guy. But I don't think I am. That's just my opinion. If you're getting paid all that type of money, you need to perform. That's just my opinion, right? So if I was to get on air and I said something about one of your favorite players, then, you might hold a grudge against me. You know what I'm saying? You might say something against, like you might say, hey, this brother right here don't know what he's talking about. You know what I'm saying? But I've never seen Stephen A. Smith on a regular basis attack black people. If he has, somebody leave a comment in my comment section and let me know. Does Stephen A. Smith only attack black people? Is he across the board with his criticism of athletes? Or is it just one group of people that he just attacked on a daily basis? Because that's what Jason Whitlock does on a daily basis. And I said to myself, what really got me on Jason Whitlock's helmet is what he said about Trayvon Martin. And I made a video about that. You guys need to go check that out, when he said that Trayvon Martin was a thug. So I said, anytime I got a chance to get on this dude's helmet, is what I'm going to do, and show the hypocrisy of this brother, and that he's running out here with the torch for the right, for that conservative platform that he's on Blaze TV. Blaze TV is a conservative platform. I don't have anything with anybody being conservative, right? But there's a difference between conservative and being a white supremacist, and you being a black man carrying the torch for white supremacy. I can't get with that, right? So let me stop talking and let Stephen A. Smith get back in here and tell you what he thinks.
Ladies and gentlemen, how serious I am? Am I? I have a contract that I negotiated with ESPN and I signed in 2015. I don't know of anyone who has this in their contracts. I had it in my contract, and I have a copy of it, where it specifically stipulates that I never work with Jason Whitlock. It's in writing. No wonder you didn't see him on First Take. You didn't see him on Undisputed with Skip Bayless either. Skip Bayless wouldn't allow him on there. You didn't see him on Numbers Never Lie either. Jamel Hill and Michael Smith wouldn't allow him on there. Christopher Broussard for Fox Sports and Fox Sports Radio. Let me take a moment to tell you about Chris Broussard. If Chris Broussard were not in this industry, do you know where he'd probably be? Probably, because I don't know for sure, but probably be, y'all, in a monastery. He's one of the most religious, God-fearing, decent human beings you will ever encounter. It doesn't get any better than Christopher Broussard. He can't stand Jason Whitlock. Look around. Don't y'all notice why black people scurry away whenever this roach of an individual is around named Whitlock? Because we know what he is. We know what he is. Blaze TV. You may not know. Glenn Beck, Dave Rubin, the great one himself, Mark Levin. I bring up Blaze TV, which is where Whitlock works, because I want Blaze TV to understand I'm not talking about you. I know you're a conservative, I get all of that. I'm not judging accordingly. I know Mark Levin well. We have one another on speed dial. We talk all the time. The same applies to Sean Hannity, the Andrew Wilkows of the world. Okay? I talk to these folks. I'm not one of those people that's married to one side or the other. And decent people are everywhere. Be careful that you don't get yourself stained and stenched by Whitlock. He can do that to people. He is the worst. He's not ethical. He's not moral. Clearly, based over what I've told you about me, he's also not factual most of the time. He will lie. He will denigrate. And he will turn against anyone to serve his own good. The real reason, and casting no aspersions on what Blaze TV presents and what it has to offer, the real reason he's there is because he can't get a job anywhere else. He hasn't burnt bridges, he's napalmed them. Call Eric Shanks and Charlie Dixon at Fox. Call Jimmy Pitaro, Burke Magnus, Dave Roberts, Norby Williamson at ESPN. Call them. Call them. Call John Skipper at WHITLOCK Media. I'm giving you names. I'm giving you names. That's just I already gave you on-air talent names. I gave you reporters and on-air talent. Ladies and gentlemen, this same Jason Whitlock that wants to talk smack about me is the same Jason Whitlock that wanted to hire me. It's the same Jason Whitlock that stood outside doors trying to get me and coax me into even having a conversation with them because they knew I was so disgusted with him, presumably after he hit a strip club, because we all know ain't nobody trying to go out with him. Okay? The same Jason Whitlock, that guy, is the same guy that sent both Dan Lebertard and Isaiah Thomas. Isaiah Thomas, the two-time champion, the Hall of Famer, one of the greatest point guards in NBA history, now working on NBA TV. That guy, that same Jason Whitlock, sent those folks to talk to me. Please, is there something that can be worked out? Can you forgive him? Can you talk to him? My words and my promise to them was that I want nothing to do with him. I will never hurt him from getting opportunities, but I'll be damned if I'm going to help him by being associated with him in any way. Do you know why I said that, ladies and gentlemen? As black people, and I guess I was wrong. I should say at this particular moment in time, I was wrong to call him a fat bastard or a roach and all of this other stuff, because that's not my name for him. My name for Jason Whitlock is religiously CAIN. CAIN. You see, a lot of black folks, we talk about how we're the original man on the face of this earth. Well, that means Cain was the original murderer, because he's the one, according to the Bible, who killed Abel. That's Jason Whitlock. There is nothing good about him. Absolutely nothing. And I challenge anybody that knows anything about him to refute what I'm saying. I have the facts. They're all here. I know what he's done. The biggest mistake, one of the biggest mistakes that John Skipper could have ever made as the former boss of ESPN was hiring that man. Everyone knows it. That's why he attacks ESPN. That's why he attacks colleagues and contemporaries in the industry. It's not just because he thinks he's smarter. It's not just because he's fearful of anybody smarter than him in the same room. It's not just because of those reasons. It's because he truly despises us all. It's who he is. And the funny part about it is, when he sits up there and he says, you know, I can't do this or I can't do that. Look, I'm 56 years old. If y'all think now that I'm successful in this business, that I got to sit here and lie about me playing basketball in high school to write in my own damn memoir at this point in time in my life, I can't help y'all. I'm not going to waste my time with that silliness. What I would say to you, however, is this. I have a bestseller. Where's his? I got let go by ESPN and they brought me back. They won't let him in within city limits. I'm telling you what I know. How the Fox thing work out? When he was on the air arguing with Christopher Broussard or arguing with Marcellus Wiley. What happened to him? He wants to talk about me. That's fine. Ladies and gentlemen, he'd give anything to have my job. He'd give anything to have my resume. He ain't on ESPN. I got the #1 show. Where his show do? How his show do? You ever see this despicable dude on television? I'm not even getting into how difficult he is to look at. I'm saying, have you ever listened to him? Who wants him? I don't speak like this, ladies and gentlemen, but what else? What other explanation is there other than his evil, vile tendencies than you want to be me? You wish you were in this position, didn't you? Don't you? You wish you had the #1 show for 12 years, don't you? You wish you could do that, don't you? You wish you could be on national television every day, don't you? It ain't bragging. I work for it. Everybody else works for it. The only people out here trying to hurt people is you. You have literally made a career off talking about people in the industry who do what you do. In other words, you don't want to do it better. Then why don't you have a job outside of Blaze TV? Why are you at Blaze TV? Not to knock Blaze TV, but we know that's not where you want it to be. You want to be at ESPN. You want to be running the black website. You want to go to Fox. You want to be on television. You want to do all of these things. Jason Whitlock, what's up? Are you watching the show? I mean, it ain't Club Shay Shay where you break the internet with the Cat Williams interview, but I do pick up at least 1,500 subscribers per day. I am at over 460,000. I just started 9 months ago with my team. You've been at it, whether it's May of 2021 or July of 2021. You've been at it since then. I've already surpassed you. Sound familiar? Because it's what I've been doing to you your entire career. You were a great writer. Your mistake was you started talking. And worse, wanting to be seen while you were talking. Which is why your quality and your value plummeted. Because when we see you and we listen to you, we know how worthless you are. This is a dude that, according to reports, literally tried to put a tape recorder under a hotel door to spy on what Allen Iverson was having to say. According to this article in Deadspin, he plagiarized one of his own editors. Somebody with these credentials, with this history of iniquities, with this disgusting reputation, y'all want to listen to him talk about me, fine, but let me leave you with this before I get on out of here. Ladies and gentlemen, you know why he's talking about me? Because I get him clicks. That's what he's been reduced to. See, this is a passion and a hobby for me. I have a day job that's paying me quite well. I own and operated this. This cost me money because I invested my own money with my new studio, with my staff, and with everything that I've done to do this. He's leaning on Blaze for a check because he can't find one anywhere else. I ask any of you connected to this industry, from this point forward, because I know my colleagues, they don't want to touch this subject because he's a bully, and they don't want to deal with the fallout of him constantly coming at them. I don't give a shit. He came to the one. I know what he is. I have the emails. I have the articles. I have everything. I once tried to befriend this dude. I don't talk to him because he betrayed me, as he has others. He's turned his back on Dan Le Batard. He's turned his back on all of those other colleagues that I mentioned. Ask Jamel Hill about him. Ask Dan Le Batard. Ask Chris Broussard. Let me stop naming names. Ask anybody in the industry. I can give you the names of the executives if you want. All of them. At Fox, the executives, upon telling their subordinates that they were bringing Jason Whitlock on board, said, quote, "We'll all band together and stand on the tracks in front of a train to stop it, if that would prevent you from hiring him here." He is despised. He doesn't report anymore, y'all. All he does is make noise by coming after the very people who did and still does what he once did, what he aspires to do, but no longer has the outlet to do, because he is considered a vile, despicable human being that no one wants anything to deal with. Nothing. That's who he is. I will not be speaking on him anymore. He's a liar. He's a piece of shit. My apologies to ESPN. My apologies to my family, my friends, my staff, my employees. My apologies to Fox for staining their name by even mentioning the fact that he was once there. My apologies to John Skipper. My apologies to Dan Le Batard and Stu Gotts and their show. My apologies to Jamel Hill. I didn't even mention Kerry Champion. He was insulting to her, along with others. Whether it's Amina Kimes, whether it's Monica McNutt, it's Kimberly. He got something to say about everybody. Molly Kiram, my matriarch, for First Take, every weekday. My apologies to everybody that you had to see me out of character to address this dude. But I asked for everybody indulgence for one show and one show only. And please do not allow this to be a reflection on my character, because this is not how I act every day. But I mean it from my soul when I say this is the worst human being I've ever known. I don't know of another human being worse than Jason Whitlock. He is a piece of shit. He's the dude that's going to have a funeral and ain't going to be no pallbearers. Might be 2 people to show up. He's that dude. He is the absolute worst. And he lies. And he incriminates. And he tries to set people up to fail, to big up himself, because he can't do it on his own. He had a television show. He failed. He's had opportunities one time after another. He doesn't measure up. And now he's coming at the big dog. And let me tell you something right now. I am the big dog. I ain't the only one. I ain't the only one. There's plenty. Skip Bayless, apologies to him too for bringing up Jason Whitlock's name in the same sentence as him. But we all know what time it is. Everyone knows. All the executives at all the networks, they know what a piece of shit he is. And they begged me not to do this. But even my pastor, A.R. Bernard, said, I'm not happy about it. But every now and then we gotta do what we gotta do. I promise you, and last to my sister Carmen, I won't do this again. I promise you. I know you cringing, you didn't want me to do this. I'm sorry, sis. It was necessary. He's a sorry, fat piece of shit. A no of the worst order. That's who he is. And I want to make sure everybody knows that. And I said to Isaiah Thomas, and I said to Dan Lebertard, if you care anything about our friendship, don't ever call me about him again. I'm a very forgiving person. Not with him. I don't care what beef I had. I don't care how many of you out there that hate me, whatever former athletes, all this stuff. Man, please, I'm sorry. Because I certainly don't hate y'all. We might have our differences from time to time, but ain't never that. This is the exception. I hate this bastard. Not even, far more than a little bit. He is the worst human being any of you will ever meet. You get within a mile of his presence. Wrap your arms around yourself to protect your soul. He is CAIN. He is a devil. The worst. That's all I have to say.
Rowdy Nation TV. Click that like button, subscribe to the channel, hit that notification bell so anytime I drop a video, you guys can be notified. We out.